FileHandler automatically figures out what is the MIME type of a file based on its extension, but that's something that you can override and control. The MIME type determines how a file will be displayed. So if you want, for example, a plain text file or you want an image to be displayed, then you have to set the content type HTTP header. Let's go through how you can do that. In our Gramex.yaml, we have a default page where the home page is going to be served by index.html. Now, the result of this is it looks like a regular HTML file, and this is what the source looks like. But what if we don't want to serve this file as HTML, but we just want to display the source? So what I'll do is create a new handler. Let's call it source. And when I go to slash source, it should display the same file, and there's no index that is relevant here. I'll even get rid of this. But what we want to do is specify a set of headers. Specifically, we want to say render this as plain text rather than rendering it as HTML. So to do that, we say headers colon content type colon text slash plain. That creates the MIME type. Now let's go to the source page, and that renders the same file, but now it's rendered with the header text slash plain and therefore is shown as text. Let's see how that works on the HTTP header. The slash source page sends a response header saying the content type is plain and therefore the content type is plain. We can also make this a download. Content disposition header determines whether we download the file, and by default it's none. But if we wanted to download something as an attachment, let's say we want to download index.html as a download.html, then we can specify content disposition colon attachment, and then after a semicolon add the file name that we want to download it as. Let's do that. We will take the content disposition as an attachment with the file name equals download.html. And now when I go to the source page, I'm going to open it in a new tab so you can see the effect. Slash source. Let's reload. Okay, sorry, I took a reload. And now we see it downloaded as download.html. I'm going to do that again. Slash source, and you'll see that it's downloaded as download1.html. So that's download one and download, and these are coming through every time I visit source. What you can also do is serve different file types with different MIME types. Let's take an example. Supposing we have, let's get rid of this source. We have our home page, which can serve all of our files. I'll say dot star, and all of these map to the YAML home, the YAML path directory. So that is any file name will map to a file under the current folder, and we don't need an index file. What this does is takes over control from Gramex's default file handler to say that this particular application will serve all the files. So this overrides anything that Gramex serves. Now within this, let's say we want to serve HTML files as HTML, but let's say there's a new file type called, let's say, mm, test.data. And a data file is actually, let's say, a JSON file. We'll say key colon value. Let's see how this is rendered by default. Test.data. It's rendered like HTML. And that's because Gramex assumes that if it doesn't know the file extension, it's probably a HTML file or a binary file. What we'll do now is tell Gramex that anything with a .data extension must be rendered with the header application/JSON. So let's go to gramex.yaml. The way we do that is by specifying a headers where you can put in a set of defaults if you want, but then say a specific set of file patterns follow a certain content type or any other set of headers. In this case, what we'll say is headers colon. If it's a JSON, then sorry, not JSON. If it's a data file, then content type should be application/JSON. With that change, when we reload this page, test.data, it gets rendered as JSON, and we can validate by checking the HTTP header, which shows that the content type is now application/JSON, and you can see that it's being formatted more like text. So what this lets us do is specify how each file type, especially new file types, should be served, and allows us also to create downloads.